Hello everybody and welcome to our first skincare Q&A session. It's Harriet here. We are doing something new today, so I thought I would start with young skin because as a previous acne sufferer, it's something very close to my heart, and also I'm now helping my daughter go through this phase, and so I thought I would just debunk some of the myths, tell you a little bit about how skin works and why we get these problems, and then take any questions you've got. So the things we're going to cover are, firstly, we're going to talk about the skin. So your skin is the largest organ in your body, and its job is to be a barrier. So it keeps the inside in and it keeps the outside out. And there are a couple of things that come into play as we move from childhood into adulthood that create all of the perfect conditions for breakouts and spots. The first thing is this enormous hormonal surge that happens. The androgens that start circulating in your body, actually the male hormones, create an excess of sebum. They make your body make more oil than it needs and more oil than it used to make. And there is also a little genetic factor in this as well. Some people have more of these hormones than others. So if you have a lot of hormones, you're going to end up with loads more oil. Some people may only have a little bit of excess and may have the effects to a lesser degree. So you've got more oil coming out of your skin. The second thing that happens is your cell turnover slows down. So that's the rate at which your skin renews and repairs itself. So as a baby, your cell turnover is about 2 weeks. So that's why a baby's skin feels very soft, very smooth. But as this change starts to happen in the body, your cell turnover time gets longer. And the effect that creates on the skin is that you suddenly have lots more dead skin cells that are sitting on the surface of your skin. And when you've got more dead skin cells sitting on your skin, they obviously can clog the pores, which makes the pores stretch. And then if you add this sebum, the excess oil, into the mixture, you've got excess oil and dead skin cells. And those two factor together and make this kind of sticky plug, which is what can start to create things like blackheads in the skin. So they're just where we've got these blocked pores, and they can really get quite big because they can stretch. And then, of course, if you add in bacteria, which could come from your makeup, your fingertips, or even from your hair, or even touching your face, we have bacteria on our fingers, as we know from coronavirus, the whole time. So it only takes a little bit of bacteria to get into this plug, and suddenly you've got an infection. And in the skin terms, what that infection really looks like is a spot. So your body is doing what it would always do if you had an infection anywhere, which is swelling to help control the infection, and it's going to send loads of white blood cells to try and improve the infection, and that can sometimes appear as a lump and sometimes with a white head. So that's really what's going on. So it's this too much oil plus some excess dead skin, which plugs together sometimes with bacteria to create these lumps and bumps and imperfections on the skin. So it's important to say, I think, that there is no miracle cure. It often really annoys me when I see these companies advertising overnight cures for spots and things that work quickly. And yes, you can make a difference quickly, but you can't cure spots. This is a hormonal change that's happening deep within your body. And there is nothing you can put on the surface of your skin that will make everything go away in a day. So make your peace with that and don't believe the hype. The most important thing to think about is a longer term and consistent plan that you're going to follow through for a good, well, forever really, until your skin gets better. Because what we need is to get control back. We want clear, clean, under controlled skin. So with that in mind, here are my 5 secrets. Secret 1 is the double cleanse. So I think it's fair to say, especially if you're a female, that if your skin doesn't quite look how you want it to look, you might be using a little bit more makeup than normal. So when you use makeup, then thinking at the end of the day, to the point where you're washing your face, you need to double cleanse, because the first time you wash your face, you're removing your makeup. Then you need to cleanse again, because the second time you cleanse is when you're actually cleaning the skin. So the double cleanse is a really powerful thing you can do to get clear and in control skin. The second thing, my second secret, is to tone with acids. So your skin is naturally slightly acidic. So although it sounds frightening, the word acid, it's actually very beneficial for the skin. Uh, Especially things like salicylic acid is a natural exfoliator. So if you're using a toner after cleansing, the exfoliating effect will remove any more of those dead skin cells so that you have less of them sitting on the surface of the skin. And if there's fewer dead skin cells, then there's a reduced chance of those becoming blocked in the pores. The other ingredient you can look out for in a toner is tea tree. It's a very well-known and natural antibacterial agent. So if it's killing the bacteria as well as removing the dead skin cells, well, that's great because that's two of the main problems that are causing the spots dealt with in the tone phase. So that's a really good idea to look out for a toner that's got a salicylic acid in it plus tea tree. My third secret is exfoliating, but with a non-granular product. So that means avoiding anything that has a sort of texture to it, like a sandy, grainy texture. There's a few reasons I would avoid those grainy products. The first one really is that if you have these pores that are enlarged and open, then obviously there is a higher chance of those grains getting into the pore. And once they're in the pore, they're going to make that pore stretch even further. So you could actually end up making your blackheads look worse because they've got more debris in them. And the second thing, of course, is because we don't know how pure these grains and granules are, it could potentially also lead to infection in the skin. So that's one reason to avoid them. The second reason is often if we have got very active breakouts on the skin, your skin is going to feel sore and sensitive. So it's really not a good idea to be aggravating it even further with a really harsh exfoliant. So avoid the grains, and what you need to do instead, again, is to use an acid-based product. So we are going to use anything with things like lactic acid, anything, again, salicylic acid, glycolic acid, those kind of acids are really good at exfoliating even more effectively than your toner. So they're going to work a little bit harder, take away another little layer of the skin cells, and further improve that clarifying effect on the skin. So Environ do a really good one, which is called Clear. It looks like this. And it's you can use it a couple of times a week, even every day, if it's really, really breaking out. It's completely creamy. There's no grains at all, and it works brilliantly well. But Environ or not, look for an exfoliator which is acid-based rather than granular. My fourth secret is actually moisturizing. Now, probably one of the big mistakes that we see when people come into the salon for advice is they think they've got oily skin and therefore are either not moisturizing at all or are using what I'd call the sort of oil reduction moisturizers. And the thing you have to understand about the skin is it is only doing its job by making this sebum. It's desperately trying to moisturize itself. So the more moisture you take away from the skin, the harder your skin is going to work to try and replace that moisture that it thinks it's lost. So ironically, by adding moisture into the skin, you can actually control and regulate the amount of sebum that it is producing. So although it feels counterintuitive, actually applying a moisturizer, and especially one with SPF, is really important. The SPF is worth a note because an antioxidant SPF also is shown to reduce the sort of inflammation stress, the aggravation from pollutants and the sort of everyday dirt and dust that gets in. So make sure you're moisturizing and look for a moisturizer that has SPF. That is number 4. And then finally, number 5 is consistency. So it is so difficult, isn't it, when you just want everything to work immediately. But my advice really is to choose a routine that's based on these principles and just give it a chance to work. There are so many masks and scrubs and goodness knows what out there, but I really would advise you to at least give it 2 weeks. Whatever you decide to try, be consistent with it, because actually the more you stick with the same thing, your skin will get used to it, and you might find that you get the improvements, perhaps not the next day, but within a couple of days. So consistency is my fifth and final secret. And then the next thing I wanted to talk about is a skincare tool that you might like and find beneficial. Going back to my first secret, really, cleansing is king here. The better job you are able to do of cleansing your skin, the more clear and in control your skin will be. And there are some tools and devices out there that can really help. The first is what I'd call a skincare brush, and this is a Clarisonic. I'm not particularly pushing Clarisonic, but this just happens to be the one that we have at home. It's a brush, and the oscillations, a bit like an electric toothbrush, work really effectively just to kind of gently scour out. They're very soft, so it's not harsh, but it scours out the pores, and it helps again to remove all of those dead skin cells, so you're reducing that sticky plug effect. The other alternative are sort of ultrasonic silicone brushes like the Foreo. There's a few different ones out there at the moment, and they're very good as well. Silicone ones are also antimicrobial, so they're super good from a cleaning point of view. Either of those are really good. They've been proven to deliver cleaning that's up to 6 times more effective than just using your fingertips. So imagine if you could clean your skin 6 times better. I think that's a really good thing to be aiming for. So I would definitely advise, if you've got a birthday coming up or Christmas, or you've got some savings put aside, then invest in a cleaning tool. So either a brush or an ultrasonic cleanser. They're really, really good. Then the next thing I wanted to talk about was the role of diet. We are really back here to the idea of the things that are going on inside your body are being as important as what's going on the outside. And you've probably heard, eating greasy food, eating oily food gives you spots. And it's really not that. What really gives you spots is when you have this insulin response. So any foods that trigger your body to make lots and lots of insulin are going to trigger at least more sebum to be produced, therefore a higher instance of spots. So high insulin trigger foods are, I'm really sorry to say, sugary things, chocolatey things, sweet things, highly refined foods, very processed foods. And also dairy has also been shown to promote quite a strong insulin response in the body. So when you have a high insulin response, these androgen hormones that make this sebum response are stimulated by that. So therefore, keeping your diet clear, or at least cutting down on those things, will make a massive, massive difference. So have a little review of your diet, because I would advise you to stick to healthy foods. So you're thinking about whole grains, beans, plenty of leafy veg, plenty of bright colours in there, plenty of fruit, plenty of veg. Foods that are rich in zinc are also helpful. Zinc is a really powerful mineral for the skin. So things like red meat and lentils, very beneficial. And then finally, fish, especially the omega-3 rich fish like salmon. And if you can cut down on the kind of junk food, avoid any snacks that are high in sugar and highly refined, you will really see a difference. So reach for a handful of nuts or have an apple. It will really help your skin. And as well as helping your skin, they're really good for your body. And at a time when you're growing and developing and you need lots of energy and lots of brain development, sticking to a really healthy diet is a good thing to do anyway. So now on to the 3 things that you should never do. These are my 3 absolute no-nos. The first one will not surprise you, and that is you must not pick, squeeze, scratch your spots. It is so tempting, isn't it, when you see that big spot on your chin and you can just see that there's a big white head and you just want to get in there and squeeze it. And you know really that when you've squeezed a spot, it just takes longer to go away. Because once the skin is broken, your healing time is going to be very much longer. It can push the infection deeper because the action of squeezing actually forces more of that infection and that swelling into the skin rather than pushing it out. So it kind of feels good for a second, but then it just means that you've got more problems going forward. So The best thing to do is to invest in a really good concealer and go a couple of shades lighter than you normally would so that it blends in nicely with the whitehead. Because if you can keep that skin unbroken, I promise you the spot will go away much, much faster. And there are some really good on-the-spot remedies available these days where you can actually put it over the top of makeup. So you can have spot sticks in your bag and just apply all day just to help reduce the inflammation. So it's much, much better to leave it alone, as hard as it is, and just pop concealer over the top. You might even find by the end of the day when you look in the mirror that the whitehead is gone because you've given your body a chance to heal and cure that infection. The second thing to avoid is any of these kind of silly faddy things like toothpaste on spots and stuff. You've really got to remember that these products are not designed for your skin, and especially if you have any open pustules, so these spots that have been broken, you really don't want to be taking a chance with what you're putting on your skin. It's more important than ever to use a proper product that has been designed to help and heal the skin. So avoid any of these things that you might have read as the miracle cure from your kitchen shelf. They're not good. And my third thing you should never, ever do is go to bed with your makeup on. So if we go back to the clogged skin being one of the main problems, obviously if you go to bed with a full face of makeup on, you have an entire night of getting quite hot. And you know, when your skin is hot, you open up, your pores open up. So you're just creating the perfect conditions for more of those bacteria, more of those dead skin cells to get into the pores. That's going to make them look bigger. It's going to make them actually swell. And you're going to end up with a much worse condition if you repeatedly do that. So even if you're really, really tired, make sure that you have washed your face thoroughly, and twice if you've been wearing makeup. And linked to that is also, don't forget to wash your makeup brushes regularly. If you're using a foundation that applies with a brush or a sponge, if you can, use a disposable sponge or something that you can rinse out and reuse, so that every time you're putting something on your face, you know it's clean. If that's not realistic, then at least once a week, more if you can, just use a nice gentle brush shampoo, something like a baby shampoo, or there are lots of specialist brush cleansers available now on the high street. Just make sure they're nice and clean, because even if you have completely clean skin and completely clean foundation, those bacteria will be sitting there gathering all day that brush is not being used. And then you put your foundation on the next day and everything on that brush is going straight on your skin. So it's really important to wash your makeup brushes. Don't forget to wash your makeup brushes. So those are my top tips. So I'll just summarize. Remember to understand the causes. So if you keep focused on why is the skin breaking out, it's this combination of too much oil and the dead skin cells sitting on the surface that plug together with bacteria to make blackheads and spots. So remember that cleansing and removing those two problems is the most important thing you can do. Remember to exfoliate. This is partly with your cleanser, with your toner, and also with a regular mask or a peel, something with acid that just takes it a little bit deeper into the skin. Remember to moisturize. Keep your skin nice and hydrated so that it doesn't have to work overtime with sebum production to make itself moisturized. Make sure you eat a healthy diet. Avoid your junk food. Eat your whole grains, your fruits, your vegetables. Don't pick your spots and take your makeup off. And that's everything. So I don't know if anyone's online with any questions, but feel free to shoot me a question if anyone's there. If you think of any questions that you would like me to answer, then you can always pop a comment in the box and I will do my best to answer. But that's it. So I'll see you another time for a different topic. We'll probably do something on anti-aging or pigmentation next. So if you have any ideas of what you would like us to cover, then drop me a comment in the box and we will see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.